Welcome to UK Business Show. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions, helping business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, UK Kachidori.
Hi everyone and welcome to another show. I'm Yokai Kachidori and hope you have a great time. Today, the interview we have is with financial expert Ruth King, and we have entitled this interview, The Mistakes that a Business Owner Needs to Avoid When It Comes to Your Finances. Now, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. I hope I can help your audience.
Incredible. Now, Ruth is regarded by many as the master of profitability. She lives, eats, and breathes financial statements. And for the past 36 years, Ruth has helped companies, including her own, manage by numbers, interpret numbers, and spot minor issues before they become major crises. In fact, Ruth's number one best-selling book, The Courage to be Profitable, explains the financial side of business in English rather than accounting bubbles. I would like to talk about that shortly again with Ruth so that we have an insight as to what she covers. In fact, also Ruth has got a new book which is out there called The Ugly Truth About Cash, which reveals 50 ways employees and vendors steal from you as a business owner and procedures which you can put in place to keep honest people around for a long time. Ruth, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
My pleasure. Look forward to our conversation.
Incredible. Now, for those who are not familiar with your work and what you've done, would you share with our audience a bit about your background and your experience in the field of financial management?
Okay. I've got an MBA in finance. And that absolutely did not prepare me for working with small businesses. The MBA is very good for working with large companies, but they don't really have a clue about what small business financials are all about. So I had to learn it. And it was actually pretty easy for me because I'm also a chemical engineer by training, so numbers are my thing. And I look at it and I help companies actually understand what their balance sheets are saying, what their profit loss statements are saying, help them spot the trends so that we can grow profitably, because my feeling and my mission in life is really to help business owners and people grow profitably by providing the tools that help them do just that, to get and stay profitable.
Incredible. And how long have you been in this industry for?
Since 1981. Long time.
Definitely a long time. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes come in and some of them go. What's one thing in your experience has stayed, the same?
Has stayed the same?
Yes.
Actually, the formats of profit and loss statements and balance sheets were developed in the 1300s by the Venetian monks because they had to take care of the rich Italians' money. So they had to create financial statements that were simple because they didn't have abacuses as the Chinese did, but they didn't, obviously didn't talk to them. But they didn't have calculators, they didn't have slide rules, they didn't have QuickBooks or any accounting software. And so the format has not changed for over 1,000 years. Wow. And that's the thing that stays constant. Now, tax law changes and things that you have to do regulation-wise change that affects those statements. But the statement formats themselves have not changed for a very, very long time.
Incredible. Let me talk to you about business. You do this as a business owner yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have consulting clients, but I also have several businesses that I own and operate. I am a serial entrepreneur by definition. I've had 8 businesses, or I still have several of them, since 1981. Some have done phenomenally well. Some crashed as bad as you can crash.
Yes.
But no, for the most part, I love business. I love getting the light bulb to go on for small business owners and people who are, outsourcing, because you're really in business for yourself, whether you believe it or not. You've got a revenue stream and you've got expenses and all those things that happen as a result of a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. You've got it, even if you're all by yourself.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So would you consider yourself as somebody who's been more privileged to run successful business, or you had to work hard at it?
Oh my goodness. Everybody who's a business owner works hard at it. I don't know any business owner who doesn't work hard at it. There's,
That's right. Yes.
there's the myth of the 4-hour work week, but I don't believe in that myth. If you're doing what you love to do, which I do, and I hopefully all of your audience is doing it, it's not like work. It's not like going in the office and punching a clock. It's like doing things that you love to do. So you don't mind putting in the hours and the things that it takes to be very, very successful at it.
Yes, yes. And, you enjoy that because it becomes like an extension of your everyday life. So it's not a chore anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And the thing that is it gives you flexibility in terms of working. If you're doing really well and you've got employees and those types of things, some of your listeners might and some of them might not. But the reality is that you can schedule your time the way you want it. So, for example, I swim, for an hour several times a week every morning, and so I work really hard, and then I go swimming, and then I work really hard again. I can do that.
Yes. Incredible. Incredible. Well, let's talk about the mistakes that you see a lot of business owners, which I'm very happy that you actually are a business owner yourself and you interact with a lot of them. So, what kind of mistakes do business owners make when it comes to their financial planning or, dealing with their finances?
The first mistake I see almost all the time is they don't actually create an accurate profit and loss statement and balance sheet. Now, some of them may create an accurate profit and loss statement, but they totally ignore their balance sheet. And their balance sheet is where their real wealth comes from. It's where their real profitability comes from. It's not your P&L. It's actually your balance sheet. Your
Right.
P&L tells you whether you're profitable for a month or a year or a quarter or something like that. Your balance sheet is started the day you started your business, and it goes on forever. And it shows you profitability, i.e., can you sustain your profits? And that's why the balance sheet's so important. It will tell you whether you can pay your bills, whether you're gathering too much debt, things to watch out for so you spot the minor issues before they become major crises.
Incredible. Why do people make this mistake of not, creating an accurate plan in your experience?
Because none of us started our business, including me, to do the financial side of the business. We started our business because we wanted to provide a product, we wanted to provide a service, we wanted to do really good things for our communities. I mean, there's every single reason in the world, unless you're a CPA or an accountant. None of us did. We never started our business for the financial side. Unfortunately, if we don't pay attention to the financial side, it can put us out of business. And so as much as we've all hated in the beginning, learning what a P&L was, learning what a balance sheet was, learning how to read them, learning what they mean, and starting to make decisions based on what they're saying, it doesn't take that long to do it, but none of us did it in the beginning.
That's right.
We never started our businesses that way. And so the reality is that in order for businesses to succeed for a long period of time, i.e., however long you want to have your business, you got to know whether your pricing's right. You've got to know whether, who owes you money. You've got to know what bills you've got coming in and whether you have enough cash flow to pay all your bills. And it can't be in your head. It's got to be on paper.
Absolutely, because you get to experience the consequences of not being organized, which of course, getting out of business or, getting into all sorts of trouble with the law.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want not to pay our taxes.
No.
Simply because there's huge consequences for that.
Absolutely. It's unnecessary, consequences, something that you can manage and you can plan for and put in place for the right time. And it can be managed well for those who want to be in the business for a long time.
Terrific. Agreed.
Yes. Now, suppose people have already started their business. They are not quite clear on how to create this accurate plan. What should they do instead to fix it?
All right. So what I would suggest you do is find an accounting software that deals with small business. QuickBooks does a great job. Sage does a great job, and there's some other accounting software throughout the world that does a really good job. And the first thing that accounting software is going to ask you is, do you want to make your financial statements on a cash versus an accrual basis? And you always say accrual, all right? And I'll tell you what the difference is if that's okay.
Yes.
Cash basis accounting means that you record the sale when you actually get the money in the door for the sale, and you record an expense when you actually pay that bill. You have no accounts receivable, you have no accounts payable, and you have no inventory. Some of your listeners may or may not have inventory. So you have no clue who owes you money and who you owe money to. And that's not good, all right?
Right.
On an accrual basis, you account for a sale when you physically send that customer the bill, and that's considered revenue to you, and you accrue an expense when you get the bill in the door, whether or not you paid for, written the check for it. So you know accurately what your receivables are, you know accurately what your payables are, and if you have inventory, you know accurately what your inventory is. It allows you also on an accrual basis to do what I call matching apples and apples. So that means in 1 month you have revenue and you have all the expenses against that revenue in the same month. And you can tell whether you're profitable or not. On a cash basis, you might get revenue in 1 month but not pay the bills for another month. And so you have no idea whether you're profitable or not because you're not matching expense against revenue.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, if you're just joining us for the first time, I'm talking to Ruth King, who is a master when it comes to financial statement and is helping business owners, especially independent contractors, understand this whole subject of your financial statement and how you're to go about it. And today we're speaking about the common mistakes that independent contractors make, which you can avoid, especially if you take on what Ruth is talking about. Ruth, coming back to you, other than having this accurate plan, are there any other mistakes you see independent contractors make, which is completely avoidable?
Mixing business expense with personal expense.
Right.
It's crazy because if you ever got audited, and I hope nobody ever does, but they can't see what your business expenses were in one specific place, and you've got a separate way of handling your personal expenses, you're in trouble. So you need separate accounting for business and personal.
Right. Again, why do people make this mistake? I think I know the answer to this, but for the benefit of those who are coming into this field of running their own business, maybe from home, why do people do these mistakes?
Because they don't know any better, actually.
Yes.
And that's reality, because until oh my gosh, I've got to keep my, all my expenses for business separate from all my expenses from personal, even if I'm running the business from home. And there's many people that run their businesses from home. And I'm not sure about the tax law in the UK, but tax law in the United States allows you to deduct a portion of your home expenses, your rent or your mortgage and your utility bill and stuff like that, for running a true legitimate business out of your home. So basically you want to be able to take advantage of that so you don't have to pay tax or as many taxes.
Yes, we do have something similar to that, especially if you've got your home office. Everything that relates to what happens in the office, is a tax deductible, certainly here. And I'm sure business owners, they can check that out with their accountant if they're not already taking advantage of that arrangement. Are there any tool, individuals can use to separate these expenses so that there is that clear line of what needs to happen?
Well, the first thing you need to do is 2 separate checking accounts. You need a business account that you do all of your business expenses out of, and a personal account that you do all your personal stuff out of. So you've got to have 2 separate checking accounts. And that's really the start of it. So you must actually separate how you pay your bills from a business perspective from how you pay your bills from a personal perspective. And that's really the start, is getting a separate checking account.
Incredible. And then the rest, falls into place. Now, Ruth, in your experience, I know you've been doing this for 36 years now. Are there any mistakes that business owners make when they think they are doing the right thing, but don't realize that they're actually making mistakes. It's something quite hidden. Only people like yourself will say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing like that."
Okay, I want to add one more thing before I answer that question. If that's okay. A lot of us have credit cards.
Yes.
Take a credit card, even if both of them are in your name, that you use one only for business expenses and one only for personal expenses. Right? This is the other mistake that a lot of independent contractors make, is they have one credit card and they've got all the personal stuff mixed with all their business stuff. Separate it. All right?
Right.
All right. Now, the thing that I see a lot of times is that independent contractors generally don't price themselves high enough. They don't perceive themselves as valuable in terms of what they do. One of the things my dad taught me many years ago was that if you decide how much you want to earn for the year and divide it by 1,000. And that's your billable hour and your billable rate, because the maximum you're probably going to be able to bill, and I'm not saying work, but I'm saying bill a year, is about 1,000 hours.
Right.
So if you want to make $100,000 a year, then your hourly rate is going to be $100 an hour. If you want to make, and we can translate it into, 100,000 pounds a year, whatever you would like to do, or the Australian dollar or whatever, and figure it out. What do you want to earn? And I have a colleague who says double it. I'm not sure I'd double it.
Yes. I like this way of doing it because it gives you that clarity, of, okay, what is it that I want to do? It's an incredible way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. And it's very simple to do it. It's not any of this mysterious math or, accounting babble or mysterious terminology. It's in English. And so you just basically take out a calculator and say, okay, here's what all my bills are. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to, where I want to go. Here's what I want to have. Add it all up in terms of the cost. Divide by 1,000, and that's your hourly billable rate.
Wow, incredible! You've just simplified, something that is so complicated. I wish somebody told me this right when I was getting started, because I had to figure things out. But this is very simple and straightforward.
Right. And the thing, if you look at the number and you go, oh my gosh, I can't charge that, try
it. Yes, try it.
You'll be surprised. You'll be able, and if what you provide is a valuable service, and I'm sure you do, people value that and they'll pay for value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ruth, is there any other major financial mistake that you see happening that you want our audience to maybe become familiar with that I've not asked you about?
The other thing that I would suggest is that once you start looking at your profit and loss statement and balance sheet every year, and it's telling you you are having problems, do something about them. Don't be afraid to take action. I mean, I've seen so many times where business owners watch their profitability goes down, watch them starting to lose money, and do nothing about it. And they sit back and go, oh, it will change. No, it won't. You have to physically change it. So you may need to make more phone calls. You may need to find more prospects. You might need to ask your current clients for referrals. I mean, if you are seeing your financial statements go down, i.e. from getting more negative and less profitable, do something. Don't sit back and say, okay, it will change. It's not going to unless you change it.
Wow, incredible. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for that, piece of advice. Now, Ruth, I just want to talk to you as a business owner. A lot of times we business owners, we have people taking instruction from us. I think there are times when we just need to hear how someone else who's on the journey is doing it. So, for example, in your business, how are you going about maybe getting your motivation up? Well, how do you keep yourself going?
Well, because I love what I do, number one. All right.
Yeah.
Number two is my clients. I see the light bulbs going off in going on, I should say, not going off, but they're really getting what we're talking about. They become much more profitable. They're doing phenomenally well. And most of my clients right now come from referral. And so we're in a situation, or I'm in a situation where I don't do a whole lot of cold calling anymore. People are coming to me. Now, I've been doing this for 36 years, so I have a really, really, really good track record. So the reality is that the more you do it, the more you get referrals, the more you get yourself out there, and have fun with it. Enjoy it. If you're not liking what you're doing, don't do it. Life's too short.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the questions I get asked a lot about, when I communicated during my speaking engagement is, what is a daily routine like that keeps you, on point? Would you share with our audience how you get on with your business on a daily basis?
All right. It depends upon whether I'm in town or I'm working with a client. So if I'm in town, I normally, whether I'm working with a client or not, I normally get up around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll spend an hour or so working. And then if I'm home, I will take my dog out and I walk him 2 miles in the morning, 2 miles in the afternoon. Then depending upon what day it is, I will go swimming, and then I'll go to the office and I'll work for the rest of the day, doing the majority of things. But I've already worked out. I've already done the things that I need to do with respect to taking care of me personally, i.e. exercising, eating right, and stuff like that. I read a lot. I am a voracious reader. I read everything I can get my hands on. So if I'm working with a client, I'm still usually getting up at 5, but then the day is theirs. So it just kind of depends upon what happens there.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing with that. There is a saying that you're normally known for, and that is you have been known as to sharing with people how you can tell whether financial statements are wrong in less than 97 seconds. Talk to us about that very briefly.
All right, we'll do this in 97 seconds or less. How's that? All right. Number one, make sure your balance sheet balances, i.e. assets, balance, liabilities, and equity. Right. Number two, make sure there's positive cash on your balance sheet. The biggest mistake I see is that business owners have negative cash on the balance sheet. You can't have negative cash. The banker would close your bank accounts. You got to have positive cash. It's not there. I mean, it's not reality. Number three is you have negative payroll taxes or negative loan payments. The banks or the government doesn't owe you money. You owe the government money. The next thing that I see are things like no rent in a month and double rent in the second month, or things that you got to pay every month you're not seeing on your financial statements. So 1 month it's double, 1 month it's zero. You can't basically manage your business or manage what you're doing without those things being constant. If you have inventory, either it's not on your balance sheet. If it's not on your balance sheet, or you have the same inventory number on your balance sheet every single month. Inventory changes every month. It is a bet. You are betting your hard-earned dollars that you're going to be able to pay for and sell what you are buying. So those are the ways that you actually, in a glance, can see whether your financial statements are wrong. The other thing that you would do is you would look at your gross margins, which is simply your gross profit divided by your revenue, and that should be consistent every single month. So those would be the top ways.
Incredible. I'm glad that you're sharing with this one. And if you're joining us, you will be able to take notes of this. We will provide some notes under the recording so that you can actually use this in your own business as well. Ruth, in your book, The Courage to be Profitable, you touch on a very important subject, especially for us independent business owner, that, despite having a bookkeeper, you need to know what is happening. Can you explain more on this notion?
All right. So there's really 3 parts of it. Number one is getting the accurate financial statements, and they need to be accurate. And I gave you just a minute ago, first place is to check and start digging if one of those things is happening to you. Once you get the statements, then you're going to analyze them. We'll talk about that. And then you're going to take action based on what they're saying. And so analyzing your statements is really looking at specific ratios, i.e. there's one ratio called the current ratio, which is your current assets or things that are cash or turned into cash within a year, divided by your current liabilities, which are things you have to pay within a year. So they match, i.e. apples and apples. And if that number is increasing, generally your profitability is increasing. If that number is decreasing, generally your profitability is decreasing. And there's, all the ratios are in the book. They're really easy. If you've got a calculator, there's not hard to calculate them and compute them. And then you just put them on a graph. And I've shown some graphs in the book, and you can look at the trends. You can see, okay, is my profitability going up or not? Can we take care of this? What are we going to do about it? And that's the reality, is you look at it and afterward and say, are we continuing to get our profitability up? The answer is yes. Cool. If the answer is no, all right, where do we have to dig? What action do we have to take to turn this around? And that's what you end up doing.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. While we are on this subject that you're touching on, would you share with us what some topics that are covered in your book, The Courage to be Profitable?
Okay, I cover what a balance sheet is in English.
Yes, I like the English part, for the majority of the business owners.
The thing is that accountants like to make all these fancy terms and stuff like that, which have no business in our vocabulary. If they want to do all that stuff, that's fine. Let them do that. We need to be able to look at our profit and loss statement and look at our balance sheet, know that we're making money or not, or know that we're profitable or not, period. So the different pieces of a profit and loss statement and different pieces of the balance sheet are all explained in English in the book, for starters. And then when I explain what the different ratios that you want to calculate and how to look and analyze your financial statements. And then I look at cash flow and cash flow mistakes that a lot of business owners make, and beg you all to take action is really what it is.
Yes, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And how about your newest book?
The Ugly Truth About Cash. Oh my gosh. I started...
Before you mention that, let me tell you, when I was looking at it, a bit description about that, I thought this is exactly what my, audience would love to learn about. So if you could explain a little bit more and where we can get it if we want to buy the book.
Okay. The Ugly Truth About Cash is 50 ways employees and vendors steal from you and what you can do about it. Now, many of you are independent. Many of you do not have employees, but your vendors can steal from you. And let me tell a story out of the book, if I might. We had one person who got his bank statement back, and he started looking at his bank statement, and he noticed a debit out of his account for $479 from an auto repair place that, he had trucks and stuff like that. So he looked at it and goes, I didn't sign a check for that. I signed a check for a whole lot less. So he went to the office the next day, talked to his bookkeeper, and she pulled the back up, and sure enough, they had written a check for $79 or whatever it was, not $579.
Wow.
And so the vendor employee had stolen $500 from them. So it's not only you. It could be your vendors doing this. So you've got to look at your statements. You've got to look at everything related to cash in your business.
And know what is happening there.
Yes. And to answer your second question, all of my books, The Courage to be Profitable and The Ugly Truth About Cash, and two others that I've written, are available on Amazon. They're available from my website, which is www.thecouragetobеprofitable.com. You can get an autographed copy there. You can't get an autographed copy on Amazon. And I know it's in the bookstores in the US. I don't think it's in the bookstores in the UK or Australia yet.
Incredible, but it's going there.
Yeah. You can get them on Amazon.
Yes. Ruth, thank you so much for that. Now, as we're coming toward the end of our time here together, there may be somebody who's listening and say, yes, all what you've just said is making a lot of sense. I know I should be doing, but I just not finding myself doing it. What would you say to somebody who's like that? They seem to they want to be in the business, but they just can't get over that edge to put things in place, like you've been talking about today.
All right. One thing, starting the business, you have enough money saved up, save, at least a couple months of expenses that you have, figure out what you're going to do, figure out who your first client is, and then go after that first client. And maybe you're still working for somebody else at that point and you've got some side income. At some point in time, that side income hopefully will be greater than what you're earning at your regular quote unquote job. And then you start that way. The other way is you just go do it. Take a deep breath and just go for it. As far as the financial side, it's kind of like exercise. We know we got to do it. We just have to make the time to do it. And I do it because, number one, it makes me feel better, and it will make you feel better. Once you start getting into this, you realize, number one, this isn't so bad. It's the fear factor. And if you think about it, in your particular expertise, there is a lingo for your particular expertise. And it took you a while to really understand it and get really, really good at it. It's the same with looking at a P&L and a balance sheet. The first time you look at it, you go, oh my gosh, I don't have any idea what this is. Second time you look at it and you've done a little homework and spend 30 minutes a month doing it. It's not a lot of time. I go, okay, now I'm kind of getting it. And by the third or the fourth or the fifth or sixth month, you're looking at, why did I think this was so hard? And at some point in time, you'll probably enjoy looking at a P&L and a balance sheet. That may not happen to everybody, but in a lot of cases, you'll go, okay, good, I got it. Here's where we are.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You just have to look after those finances. Otherwise, you're working out, throwing money away. Let's get these things sorted out. That's why we've got Ruth here today on the show. Well, Ruth, thank you so much for such a great interview. And I'm sure business owners have a much clearer understanding of the possible mistakes they may be making in their business. Now, for those who wants to get in touch with you on social media, on website, where can they find you?
My LinkedIn handle is @Ruth King, RUTHKING. My email address is rking@ontherribbon.com, ONTHERIBBON.com. Facebook is Ruth Ann King, and my LinkedIn is Ruth King 1.
Incredible. Really appreciate you sharing that information with us. And also, if you are looking to get Ruth's books, you can find them on Amazon, or you can check the link below this audio and you'll be able to access those ones nice and easily. And once again, thank you, Ruth, for taking time to be with us, sharing your expertise and really, helping business owners move their business forward and begin to think, in the right way so that they can have success, which they always dream of having.
My pleasure. I hope I was helpful for everybody. And go look at a profit and loss statement and balance sheet and get used to them.
Incredible. And this has been Yokai Kajidori with Ruth King here on Yokai Business Show. And again, should you want to have an assistant with your virtual assistant work, do reach us out on this website, www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com, and you'll be able to find whatever you're looking for from there. With that said, have a great day, everyone. We wish you all the best and look forward to spending more time with you on the next show very, very soon. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Yokai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yokaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.